Welcome to Math 105. We are going to be working on our coin toss. So you'll notice that coin tosses do come up a lot in our homework and again on our guided notes. So we may as well create our experiment. Now, I am just going to be reading from here as we're going through. So if you get lost, all I'm doing is just reading. It says go to insert Smart Art under the illustration tab. So we're going to go insert and then illustrations being here, we're going to look for this icon that says Smart Art. Then it says we're going to select the hierarchy. And then from there, we're going to select the labeled hierarchy, this one right here. Go ahead and click OK. You'll notice that this pops up right away, and I'm just going to move it here quickly. And it says label the first top text experiment. Label the top second one, toss one, because we're simulating these coin tosses. And then again, the second one or the third one, toss two. Then it says label the first colored text coin. Next, perform the coin toss for the first toss. So write heads in the first and tails in the second. So we're simulating our own coin toss. So one option that we can get is either heads or your coin lands on tails. Next, in toss two, add a second branch to the tails. We can do so by clicking on the toss two column. So we're going to click on this column. Locate where you have tails in the pop-up, then locate the bullet point under it. So you'll notice here that toss two, heads has two branches, which is great because each coin has two sides, two branches, two sides. Tails, however, only has one branch. So we need to make an additional branch. So when it says locate where you have tails in the pop-up, that would be right here. In the pop-up, oops, so sorry, right here, right? We need the second branch. So it says hit enter and a new branch is created. So we're just going to hit enter, and just like that, a second branch comes up. Now we can toss, now in toss two, we should have 4 text boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now let's go ahead and perform your coin toss. So in toss two, right, let's say our first toss, we got a heads and we record it, and then we're going to toss your coin again, in which case we can either have a heads pop up or tails. Again, we could do the experiment. Let's say this time our first toss, we landed in the tails. And then when we throw it again, it can either land in a heads or a tails. Heads. There we go. So now we do want to toss it an additional time. I think on your homework, the most we've tossed a coin is probably 4 times. But we typically, for any sort of bigger graded assignments, we're going to just stop at 3. So we may as well have our simulated here. So notice that we need one of these additional branches to come up. So it says create toss 3 by locating toss 2 in the pop-up and hit enter. So toss 2 over here in this little pop-up, we're going to hit enter. And notice that the second branch is coming up, in which case we'll say that this is toss 3. And a new column has appeared. Therefore, we've labeled it toss 3. So then it says, next, click on the diagram and go to the design at the ribbon above. So we're just going to click on your diagram. Thankfully, it's already selected. And when it's talking about the ribbon, it's talking about the ribbon up here. So it says, click on toss 2 heads. Toss 2 heads right here. And then we are going to use add shape, and we're going to do add shape below. So again, I'm going to do that one more time. I'm going to click on toss 2 heads, and then over here, it's going to say add shape below. You're going to see this up here. So let's say I was on my home button. Okay, you're going to see it as design, and then you're just going to make sure that it's been selected, whichever branch you need to create. So for example, I need 2 branches to come out of tails. So therefore, I'm going to go and add shape below, and I'm going to do that one more time. Click tails, add shape below. I'm going to do this again for my heads and then again for tails. There you go. Now you can perform. Now in TOS 3, you should have 8 text boxes. So, oops, I am going to move this whole thing over here. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. There you go. And now I'd like you guys to write in your completed TOS 3. Now, I'm not going to show you that on the video. I think that is something that you are capable of. Now, when we talk about some extra things that you can perform, right, we will talk about your decision algorithm if we haven't done so already. Looks like this comes a little bit ahead, but these are decision algorithms. It's making the coin so far that was making these decisions. And at the end, right, if we were to follow this coin up, and let's say this first one, I'll do this one. We have a heads. That just means our first sample space, our first option without any sort of repeat. And I'll just label that right here. Your first option is my first heads right here. Then my second, maybe I'll just label it as H. Then my second heads, and then my third heads. And so if I were to continue with all of my sample spaces, all of my options, I could get heads, heads, and then what would this one be? Well, that one would be tails. Heads, heads, tails. Now for the extras, as far as like what can you add to this sheet, would be the sample spaces, just the set of all outcomes. And again, you have 8 text boxes, which means that you have 8 different outcomes. We will be using this experiment a lot in chapter 7 and again in chapter 8. So it is something that you can easily refer back to time and time again.